Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Rewilded Wellness. I am your host, Lydia Joy, for those of you who are new here, and I'm so glad that you're joining me in this new phase of my podcast journey. I think it's going to be a lot of fun because we have a lot to explore. Oh my goodness, it's going to be quite the journey. I've been reminded of the phrase, "you are not broken," so much lately. I think a lot of people are trying to come to terms with, their selves in these times. And I truly believe the concept of "you are not broken," but I think it needs to be a little more deeply explored and better understood. I think that you and I today are dealing with compounded epigenetic damage, if you will, and not just damage. There's other beautiful things to weave in here, but we have generations of, um, we can call it trauma expressing itself in our biology. And if we are the embodiment of thousands of ancestors, ecosystems, and life experiences, and it's all imprinted into our genetic code, it's kind of no wonder it can feel a little overwhelming. And even there can be a lot of damage to undo, possibly. And it might even give the impression that we are broken. But here's the thing. I don't believe we need to fix ourselves at our core. Our essence is, divine and already whole. What I think we're wrestling with is learning how to become whole in our human expression, like to bridge the gap between, our divine selves and our maladapted selves. Arthur Haynes used that term a lot in his book, The New Path. Maladaptation, right? Like I talked about adaptation in an episode a while back, how our body adapts to stress, right? Like trauma, to the challenges over and over, right? And because of all of it, we have become maladapted in a lot of ways, right? So it can seem like we're broken. Um, but we are facing significant challenges. We're seeing more dis-ease, more disharmony, arising conditions that feel incredibly overwhelming. But I also believe we hold the ability to regenerate, to repair, and to shift both individually and collectively. So take something like glyphosate, for example. Like we've had decades of its use, having impacted our soil, our food, our land, our bodies, our water, right? And this is a stressor. This is a trauma, if you will. And whether any stressor or trauma is physical or emotional or environmental, it can ripple forward through generations. So like the first exposure of something that is a stressor to our human biology might not seem all that damaging, and it shouldn't, because we should have the capacity to deal with it. But the repeat exposure is where the challenge is the biggest, right? Because the consequences will show up later, right? It'll show up in the soil, the water, the air, and our bodies, because it's a deviation from the natural order of things, right? So these patterns mirror the disconnection we've created between ourselves and nature, in the modern world, right? So I think about glyphosate, I think about all the issues with the soil, land, air, water. It's only one thing, but it paints kind of an interesting picture, right? So, and, amidst all of these challenges, all of these exposures of things, I see hope, because I have spent the last few years, meeting people, and I see more parents starting to raise their children, you know, outside of the infrastructures that are crushing our souls, right? Like they're, raising their children with the earth as their ally, right? There's more people that I walk through my little town and they're like rewilding their little backyards, and growing butterfly gardens and, having these beautiful little crafted signs about how spraying kills the bugs and the bees and the bird, and like they have this beautiful exemplary yard that shows what a lovely ecosystem could be, right? And then more people, you just look on Instagram for 5 minutes if you're interested in like homesteading, gardening, or growing food. And more people, especially the millennial generation, seems to be like, you know what, we're done with this. We're going to like start growing our own food, right? We're going to get some chickens. We're going to grow a little garden, more people are reclaiming this connection to the earth, to the land, to this natural order of things, right? And even like with all the farmers that I've met over the years, like I meet farmers all the time. I'm like very intentional in finding them, right? And a lot of them are also evolving, like they're returning to more regenerative practices. And the people that are looking to be in community with one another and trying to remember how to live in alignment with nature, such as I did with my group in 2022 that I talked about in the past episodes, right? And I'm actually, really quick, I'm attending a 2-day live event in Virginia next week to learn the principles of biological systems. Last year, a follower told me about Dan Kittrich's work. And he has started a nonprofit called Bionutrient Food Association, I believe. And he's traveling all over teaching these principles of biological systems, things like improving seed starting, plant life cycle patterns, soil testing, mineral balancing, managing for biological activity, affordable and local accessible biological soil amendments, right? I'm super stoked. This is like something I've been trying to understand more deeply and work with more deeply for a really long time. And I'm sure what I learn will find its way into future episodes, but it's just one example of what I'm witnessing as I, try to connect with my fellow humans that are also seeing all these big picture challenges that we faced. So that said, we are not ultimately broken, but we are being invited to face what we carry, our inherited burdens, um, the collective landscape, the trauma that's been passed down, and decide how we want to move forward within that. And, it's not about like some kind of idealistic perfection or anything like that. It's really just about acknowledging where we are, like actually seeing the bigger picture and starting to make more choices that align with true healing, which has to be, in tandem with nature. And so we have like this amazing ability to create monumental shifts in how we live, how we even see ourselves, and how we ultimately care for our bodies. And then, of course, that should ripple out into how we care for the earth. And so here we are now, present in this version. We may not have created it entirely ourselves, but when we remember our human need to connect to nature and acknowledge the large divide we're currently in, we can choose to return to the ways that allow us to become more whole. So each of us can take steps to build more regenerative ecosystems in our own lives, within our bodies, our families, our communities, and beyond. So, it's about letting our choices like also to ripple forward into future generations. I believe that's like one of the most powerful things we can do for ourselves, humanity, and the planet. So this is why I've chosen to rename my podcast From a Joy to Be Me, which still holds true. And I hope you are learning to live in a way where it truly is a joy to be you. And now we're focusing on Rewilded Wellness. It just reflects the bigger picture I see for myself, my work, and the people I serve. And it's just really about returning to the rhythms of nature, reconnecting with our bodies, creating a life that aligns with who we truly are. For me, this isn't just about wellness. It's about deep transformation. It's about building a life that feels deeply aligned. It's about helping others succeed without sacrificing their values or betraying themselves. I've made a commitment to build a way of doing work and a business that does not compromise on my values. And so, we see a lot of business models out there telling you to do things this way or that way, or right. Like, but for me, it has to be ethical and then resemble a healthy ecosystem. So it has to be in a way that feels right for me, even if it's more of a longer game approach, right? Like we've had this whole like hurry up, quick fix, quick, world that we've lived in for too long. So rewilded wellness is just my way of guiding others, especially those who see this bigger picture to create a life and business that honors who they are. So it's just about helping you realign with your values, your body, your purpose, so you can build something meaningful without losing yourself in the process. And I truly believe that transformation just starts when we live in accordance with our values, when we stop sacrificing what matters most for short term gains and instead focus on the long game. That's where the real joy lies. That's the journey I'm inviting you to take with me. So, what is rewilded wellness and how does the body heal itself? Well, the body heals itself just like nature heals itself. But right now, there's a massive mismatch, like a divide between how we are currently living and what our human biology truly needs. We're not living in alignment with the rhythms and requirements of our body ecology, and this disconnect is at the root of much of the suffering we see in the modern world. Because the body is inherently self healing when it's given the right inputs. Um, but the problem is we were born into a world divorced from its natural setting, one that isn't set up to support our biology. So instead of regenerating, we've been degenerating. Now, the good news is we can relearn, we can regenerate. We just I have to repeat myself a lot. um, I sit with people all the time, and I sat with someone yesterday who's a healer. She's an amazing skill set. And she's trying to see the whole picture, and it's like so hard to grapple with all the things, and I think it's important to keep looking at this big picture, right? Because when we can reconnect with the design that was intended for us to deeply nourish ourselves, heal, and return to alignment. It's just we're in the messy middle, right? So for me, holistic health means recognizing and honoring the interconnectedness of all aspects of our being, our mental health, our emotional health, our spiritual health, our psychological health, our physical health. So let's call it our body ecology, right? Because that's like nature's ecosystems, are an ecology, right? Thriving on balance and nuance and harmony. But in the modern world, we really lost that. We've become more robotic in how we approach life, to fit the time clock of how society runs. So we've lost this like beautiful intimacy and even communication and access to the resources our bodies need to thrive, right? Like, how can a child access all of this when they're sitting under, fluorescent lighting in a chair all day, looking forward and being talked to or at, right? Like it's just, all day for many, many hours of a day. It's just a very strange way to conduct our lives when it comes to thinking about, you know, our human biology, right? So a lot of modern healing approaches are now like just attempting to simplify the complexity of the body, right? Like a lot like the factory farming reduces the richness of natural ecosystems. And it's such a reductionist, is that the word? Reductionist view. And it just ignores the innate intelligence of our bodies and nature. So both of those, adapt. and do their best within the limits of what's available. So to me, I also want to kind of reframe holistic health because I hear it's like thrown around, but I don't see it being truly holistic. And I think that it just means remembering that we are nature. We're at our core, we're wild beings. We have indigenous souls. We have a spiritual ecology deeply connected to everything around us. But we don't see that today anymore. So true healing requires us to restore this connection and learn to trust the wisdom of our body again. Our body has this beautiful ecology, and then embrace the deep interconnection of all parts of ourselves. A thriving body ecosystem is much like a flourishing natural ecosystem in the wild. It thrives on unity, diversity, balance, harmony. So I want to visualize this together. And it's good. It can be hard because we don't see examples of this on the regular, but bear with me. I'm sure you have witnessed this in some form. Okay. So a thriving body ecosystem is going to be balanced and interconnected, right? So if you think of your body as like a vibrant forest, or maybe, I don't know, maybe a coral reef, even if you've watched any sea, ocean, if you even can picture this, right? Every part, your gut, your brain, your skin, your hormones, your immune system, and even your emotions all works together like all the things in an ecosystem, like the plants, the animals, the soil, the microbes, the fungi, right? When they're all in balance, communicating, each part is supporting the others. And that's what creates a self-sustaining resilient system. To me, I'm starting to look at gut health like the kind of like the soil in a forest. It's rich, it's diverse, it's full of life, and a healthy gut microbiome provides the foundation for additional nutrients to be absorbed, and it just supports the entire ecosystem because of all the communication that's going on from those microbes, right? And then our hormone and nervous system signals are kind of like streams and pathways in a forest. They carry vital information and nourishment to every part of the system. And then our immune system kind of could resemble maybe like the natural predators or guards in an ecosystem, maintaining that balance and protecting the system from invaders. So when all these parts are communicating and working in harmony, the body thrives. I also believe that a thriving body ecosystem is resilient. So in the wild, ecosystems are adaptable and resilient. They respond to stress, they like storms, droughts, or changes. They just have to find a new balance when those things occur. And similarly, a healthy body ecosystem can adapt to challenges like stress, illness, injury without breaking down, right? To me, resilience in the body could mean things like being able to recover quickly from, what we call sickness, a bout of something overcoming you, affecting you, um, maintaining energy and vitality even through challenging periods, difficulties, feeling grounded emotionally with the ability to process and release stress. A thriving body ecosystem is also nourished and regenerating. Um, just like a thriving ecosystem needs sunlight, water, nutrients, your body requires the right inputs to regenerate and flourish, right? The human body is this complex, interconnected system. It just mirrors the natural world around us. And when we align our lifestyle with nature's rhythms and provide our bodies with what they truly need, we're going to create an internal environment that supports optimum health and vitality. So I believe a thriving body ecosystem is deeply nourished by my 7 pillars that I've been talking to you guys about in past episodes. I'm going to repeat myself again here really quickly because I think, a lot of people still need to hear it over and over. Number 1 would be natural light, natural light. the light that comes from the sun, the moon, the stars, um, and how it impacts our circadian rhythm. So we are attuned to the rhythms of the day and night through the light and the dark, right? So that natural light exposure is what helps us regulate. And this impacts our hormones. It impacts our hormone production. It impacts how we're able to sleep and our mood, how we're able to regulate our emotions. So, this is one of the pieces that we've gotten completely um we've maladapted because this has been completely disrupted in the modern world. Um then of course water. So we've got our natural mineral rich sources of water, because water is like the lifeblood of our planet and our bodies, right? We understand that. Um Drinking the right water is going to support true hydration, which I don't think people really understand that true hydration means, you're not just drinking enough water and you don't feel thirsty. It's so much deeper than that. Um, and then obviously air and proper breathing, right? Like, so just as plants, have a relationship with the air, um, our lungs, our cells require that oxygen rich, hopefully unpolluted air, right? And then also breathing properly. I think the modern world has changed so many things that a lot of people aren't breathing properly. Um, and that's impacting us, in a lot of ways. And so, just even spending time in nature where your body can relax and your breathing just starts to naturally flow better is a great opportunity to see the difference between how you're holding your breath and releasing when you're in an environment that allows you to relax, right? So a lot of people are, shallow breathing or tense or holding their breath or all these things, right? There's a lot to say about this, but you get the point. So, and then, of course, movement. So, like, right, society is incredibly sedentary and we're very active, but like, we're not doing the same like physical movements in a natural environment that we once would have. And we need movement to really circulate the energy throughout us to keep all these systems active and flowing, right? Just like rivers flow, animals migrate in nature. Our bodies are designed for motion. So if we don't use them, we're going to lose the circulation, which then helps to strengthen our muscles and bones and enhance our mental clarity. And just move in a way that you love, right? So like a lot of times people are moving throughout their days to do the things they have to do, but it's not like joyful movement, like walking on a trail in your bare feet and squishing your feet in the mud and a little more playful and wonderful, right? Like, so there's a lot of ways we can move. But I think a lot of times we're moving in, indoor lit gyms and all these things, right? So there is an impact there. Then we have, to me, nutrition and nourishment, includes those nutrient dense foods, which I don't think we have really met well in the modern world, like what's been grown lately, but they fuel our cells and repair our tissues, right? So, like, your diet is also like the soil in a way from which your body grows, right? Like, those whole nutrient dense foods and even the wild foods, that are raised properly are going to be really rich in so many things: vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, all these little beautiful antioxidants. They provide the building blocks for our full self, like for your cellular health, for your function. This is why we, want to eat a diverse, wide array of like, different types of foods. I've talked about this a lot on many episodes. And then the last two are a little bit more like personal relationship, first to self and others. So connection to ourself, to others, to nature, to the divine, right? We're social creatures. Our well-being is completely tied to our relationships and sense of belonging. So how we how we connect to each other is a huge piece of our wellness landscape, and then just living in our own individual unique purpose as well, right? Like, so the modern world doesn't really make that super easy, right? But in nature, every species has its like niche, if you will, and its purpose. And as humans, we really flourish when we're allowed to align with our unique gifts. Like, a butterfly has a whole different set of value and gifts as a hummingbird or an eagle, right? Like, and we need them both, and we need the different types, and we need them to be around in the ecosystems, right? So we need to be able to be like totally who we are, right? Like, a bird isn't going to go comparing itself to an ant, right? So anyways, I think it's important. I think, it's been hard to do in the modern world, because of the way that the infrastructure is to kind of like herd everyone towards an end goal of like being, good little citizens doing their part, right? So it's just important to always check in and recognize that we all have our own unique combination of life experiences, perspectives, abilities that nobody else has. And it's important to allow ourselves to explore these things about ourselves, our passions, and to develop our specific talents, like find ways to contribute meaningfully to our communities and the world at large, right? And embrace the individuality we each have, allow ourselves to be authentic, creative, expressive in only the ways that we can be, right? So, nurturing these 7 pillars, we're going to create an internal ecosystem that's resilient and balanced and thriving, just like that healthy forest, which can then withstand the challenges and continue to grow. And, a well-nourished body ecosystem can adapt to stress, it can fight off illness, it can support us in living these vibrant, purposeful lives. It also feels alive and whole. A thriving body ecosystem feels alive and whole. And you'll know when your body ecosystem is thriving because you'll feel energized and clear. You'll feel more emotionally stable, balanced, calm. Your physicality will be strong. You'll feel strong within yourself. You'll have good digestion. You'll have healthy skin, steady energy. It'll show up in your physiology, and you will be more connected to yourself and the world around you. That will be very apparent. So, just to help you conceive of this, I encourage you to imagine your body as a wild, thriving ecosystem. You pick which one. I like the forest. I've spent a lot of time in the woods, so that's easy for me to imagine with all the foraging I'm doing. It's a lot more rich in nutrients. It's deeply connected. It's resilient. It's alive. When you care for your body with all these nourishing inputs, and the connection to nature, the just aligning yourself with the rhythms of nature, you're going to rewild your inner ecosystem. And that's what will help you return to a state of balance and vitality. So looking ahead, that's what I'm excited about, this more holistic approach to health and healing. And when I say holistic, I really want us to remember what it means. I think it's losing its meaning out there. This spring, I'm excited to launch a new deep dive client program that will explore these concepts in depth. I'll also be collaborating with more experts in each of the 7 pillars throughout the year, bringing them onto the podcast, bringing their insights here so we can deepen our understanding of each of these aspects. We're standing at like this critical crossroads in human health and well-being. Like, our modern environment has just left us lacking like true, deep, holistic nourishment. I don't even think we know what we're looking for, like, because we can't even perceive of it entirely because it hasn't been around. So as we grapple with all these overwhelming challenges, I think a lot of people are seeking deeper meaning and understanding and just doing our best to come to terms with it all. And I believe that to heal deeply, we really need to integrate all aspects of ourselves, right? That's what ecosystems do. So this holistic approach, me trying to expound on what it means to you today is really at the heart of my work and the transformations that I have witnessed in many of my clients. Recently, I sat with a long-term client whose journey really exemplifies this integrated healing process. Through our mineral balancing work, we've watched his body unravel layers of adaptation as his HTMA pattern just like shifts towards greater nervous system stability. We've seen corresponding changes in all areas of his life. So like long-standing challenges are unwinding, dissolving, just allowing his whole life to shift. Like most notably, he's experienced an increased capacity to heal, to face even in the first place, and then heal deeper emotional and psychological wounds that he's carried his whole life. And as these like emotional traumas have cleared layer by layer by layer, his body starts to just release corresponding held patterns within his body. So his physical symptoms are unwinding as well. So this beautifully illustrates how the body heals itself when given the right environment, support, nourishment, and even like the space to expand into. Like we talked about the root bound pot metaphor in an episode a while back. Like, you've got a plant in a pot. It's not going to grow to its capacity, right? Like it's only going to grow as far as it can. But then you take it out of the pot and you transplant it into the right environment that it was intended for. It's going to take a minute for its roots to like remember what to do and be like, okay, wait, we have all this space now. Oh, okay. Well, all right, let's unwind this dense ball of roots and let them release and expand out into the soil and receive all this amazing nourishment we didn't have before. So this particular client's willingness to face himself was such a privilege to witness. That's why I want to do the deeper work more in moving forward, because it's just really powerful when we allow ourselves to get transplanted from the pot and into the ground, if you will. It reminds me of a quote that I read recently by Xavier Dagba, who's I don't know, he's a shadow light worker. I don't know what his modality is, but he's amazing. You should follow him. Here's what he said. When you start realizing that the rationales you've been telling yourself to justify living an unconscious life are no longer working, you only have two choices: falling into a deeper slumber or embracing the sobering and sometimes excruciating journey of realigning your life with truth. This quote kind of captures the essence of our healing journey to me, and I'm trying to kind of like relay here today. It's about breaking cycles and patterns, really facing the unknown with like conscious bravery and allowing ourselves to heal. So, as we move forward, just remember that true healing integrates all aspects of our being: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And we want to be nurturing these 7 pillars I keep talking about so we can create that environment where our body's innate wisdom can flourish. And that's what's going to lead us out of and into, what it is we all want. And I think sometimes we don't even know what that looks like. So we that's why, you have to be willing to step into the unknown, right? Since we've been in Pisces season, it's kind of been bringing out the muse in me, and it got me into a poetry writing phase. And I want to share a poem I wrote last week with you. It's called Breaking the Cycle, a Poem of Health Reclamation. There's a rhythm to our neglect, a dance of avoidance we perfect. Complaining, whining, ignoring, blaming, spinning in circles, endlessly naming. Quick fixes and band-aids, anything but facing the truth our bodies have been patiently tracing. We rush through seasons, multitasking masters, never pausing to prevent looming disasters. I'm fine, we say as our bodies whisper, signals growing louder, sharper, crisper. But life has seasons, ebbs and flows. We can't do it all, this much we know. What deserves our most precious attention? What cries for our deepest intention? Ignore the important, and soon you'll see it demands notice, refuses to flee. Health neglected becomes health screaming, shattering the illusion of fine we've been dreaming. Then comes the moment, crystal clear. We're done with the cycle, the constant fear. No more hiding, no more pretending. It's time for listening, time for mending. We realize at last we're truly ready to face our health no longer unsteady. The avoidant dance comes to an end as we choose at last to attend, to nurture, to nourish, to truly hear the wisdom our bodies hold so dear. In the season of conscious healing, we find strength in finally feeling. So ask yourself in this moment true, what season of health are you passing through? Are you ready to listen, to truly commit, to nurture your body bit by bit? Remember, it's never too late to start, to rewrite your health story, to heal your heart. Your body's wisdom patiently waits for you to open those long closed gates. All right, my friends. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. I hope something within this episode has sparked a flame of inspiration or curiosity in you. As we continue to explore the concept of rewilding our wellness in future episodes, I'm really excited to delve deeper into all these topics with you. And with spring right around the corner, we're approaching an exhilarating time to reconnect with nature. For me, it's going to be foraging, sunbathing, hiking more, tending to the garden. Um, so these are all activities that are perfect examples of how we can align ourselves with the natural rhythms. I understand that many of you might be facing complex health challenges right now, perhaps a combination of mental, emotional, physical issues that seem overwhelming to navigate. And if you're in need of support and clarity on your health journey, I am here to help. I do offer initial health sessions as well as the other work that I've talked about so much. These are really designed for people to just get started, right? Like it's like a take that step, and we can dive pretty deep, even in a one-time session, right, to just really explore your specific set of circumstances and what you're dealing with, and kind of explore paths to move forward. This one-time session is designed to really help provide people with deeper insights and direction to like understand where they need to go. I think that's a big thing. Like a lot of times people feel like at this like fork in the road of like, "Whoa, I don't know what to do next. I've tried this, I've tried that. I'm not sure about this." And it's hard to navigate when you don't know, like when you've never been here before, right? And you don't understand a lot of things about all the moving parts of your body and how everything impacts it, right? So that's why I created these sessions to really help people step into an opportunity to clear up some of that and know what to do next so they can make progress. So if that sounds good to you, you can find the link to book that session in the show notes. I do often have space for those pretty regularly while I'm waiting for clients' lab work and so on and so forth. So check that out. Show notes, book your session. I look forward to supporting you. And just, everyone, I just want us to all remember that our journey is unique, you know, um, and it's okay to seek guidance along the way and get clarity from others. So, you know, we're all in a different place of the journey too. Some people are just beginning to explore viewing health in the way that I've talked about today, or maybe you're further down the path. um, it's all good. Everything, it's all welcome. And every step we do take towards holistic wellness is totally valuable. So, yeah. Well, thank you for tuning in. I look forward to the next time. I hope you, in the meantime, stay curious, stay connected to nature, keep nurturing your body's innate wisdom. And here's to rewilding our wellness together.